Assalamu alaikum, dear viewers. Welcome to the day three, the final day recap. I am once again joined by Riyaaz, Jivraj, and Aliraza Manekia. We have just concluded our tournament, and first and foremost, congratulations to our very own Orlando Union for winning the finals straight two against Minnesota Jaffrys. Congratulations also to Minnesota Jaffrys for playing an amazing game and qualifying to the finals. Gentlemen, before we get to the finals, what is, if you were to summarize the overall of the tournament as far as how it was organized and teams that came and the players, you know, let's talk about that. Riyaaz, if you can summarize it.
Apologies first for my voice, but I'll try my best. Tournament was absolutely amazing, well organized. Everything seemed to fall into place the way it should have. The teams that showed up were the normal, Minnesota or Orlando, New York, and so on, but more stressing upon the youth teams that showed up here that played in front of us, and actually were they were the highlights of this tournament. Shows how the sport is going to be continuing in the future. But overall, I think everything just worked perfectly and it was amazing. And the outcome was great too.
Aliraza, the like Riaz said, we had such I probably wouldn't say a record number of participation by the youths. And that is such an encouraging sign. And then to top it off, the number of people that were here for the finals. I feel like the entire Minnesota Jamaat was here. So many people came from Toronto.
A controversy or anything like that.
The tournament overall obviously was very successful, and the organizing team put tremendous effort in this. The volunteers stepped up. The media team. I mean, I think our cameras in the finals, there were like 3 cameras, roaming cameras. They did an exceptional job. The sponsors, everybody. But also, what made successful was the teams that came to play cooperated as well with everything that they asked for. Nobody said no. You know, you call them to do interviews. You whatever you tell them to do. You know, they were there. They were always there to help us out in any way we could. Gentlemen, coming back to the games, we had quarterfinals today. Um, Obviously, Orlando Union A won. They beat Toronto North. Minnesota Jaffrey's won. I believe they beat United Stars. No, that was in the semifinals. They they beat who? They beat Orlando Union B. They beat Orlando Union B. That's correct. And then we had United Stars that won. And then obviously the four, those are the four teams pretty much. The Orlando Union A, Minnesota, Stanmore, of course, Stanmore won. I have to start by asking you. I think Orlando Union A, obviously, we were expecting them to win, and they actually exceeded our expectations with their game. I think their game was a notch above everybody else. But let's give credit where credit is due. Minnesota Jaffrey's showed up today.
Oh, Minnesota Jaffrey's put up a show in the finals. We weren't especially I wasn't expecting them to, keep up with Orlando. And a lot of credit is due to that front line. The front line, they played a 4-people front line, and all 4 of them were youths. It's probably the first or second tournament they're playing. And you saw one of them got the most defensive player. These guys were not scared. They would hit to Imran Jivraj. They would hit to KJ. They would put the ball in the net. So these kids are, I think they're going to be how Orlando have their the front line like a wall. This team is going to emulate that.
Yeah, and them reaching in the finals should motivate a lot of them as a team and a lot of the youngsters. And earlier, Riyaaz, I interviewed before the quarterfinal. I interviewed Imran Walji, and I asked him very casually which Minnesota is going to show up today. The day one where you guys were winning all the games until the last game, or day two where you lost 6 games. And what he told me is that we last night decided to change some format. And he didn't tell me what the format was, but he said, when you get to the court, you will see. Because I was interviewing them and their quarterfinal opponent captain, I think it was Mazhar. They literally changed that format. They had never tried that format. He, in fact, even before the semifinals, he said, we had never tried that format, and it really worked.
So, after watching that format for Minnesota, and I think even myself and Ali, when we were doing the commentary, I was amazed at seeing these 4 new youths that we've never seen before take shots from Ali Askar, from KJ, from Hilal, from Imran, from Freddie. These guys were basically taking it in, returning into the net. One of the reasons why Minnesota won their game to make it to the finals was that front line. That front line kept hitting the net. Every ball, whether it was digging, defense, whatever it was in the net, and that gave Imran Walji, and that gave Matham a chance to attack. So if you would have asked me, and when we sat on Friday night doing the recap, if you would have asked me after watching Minnesota on Friday, would I have predicted them to make it to the finals? Absolutely not. But they played, they have heart, they have the kids who are not scared. And I was telling Ali earlier that these guys, they're in Orlando. Their core is very much like Orlando, and you will see them in more finals going forward. Absolutely.
And what's also going to motivate them is they just announced that they are hosting the next tournament in October. one more thing about Minnesota Jaffrey is you both mentioned about the front line, but also let's give credit to their netties. Their netties played amazing, and the way they were setting up to Mason and Imran Walji on both sides, and as soon as those players, I mean, they took Turab and United Stars down, which I don't think anybody thought they would do it, right? And nobody thought that they can beat, and they beat them what, one was it two straight, right? Two straight, and all they did was put it in the net. The front line, I said, put it in the net, set it up to Imran, set it up to Mason, and those two were killing it. In fact, if you notice that second game, and for those of you, you can go watch. You know, and I mentioned this in my interview after the game too. Mason is one player. He is very animated. He's loud. He gets the team riled up. That second game, he was smiling. He was laughing while the game was going on. And this is not against any small team. This is against Turab.
So I noticed that, and my son gives a point, and he'll be smiling. And after every ball he hits or his team hits, he has to say the word steady. Mason played awesome. Talking about the netties, the job Monty did. We're not realizing, but he is setting to two different sides, and it's not that he's splitting the net with Mahdi 50-50. Mason is the primary net. Mahdi is helping him out. So Monty has to set to back left, back right. It is not easy. Trust me on that. Whereas Orlando Netti, 98% of the time, the ball goes to Alyaskar Allu. So very good job on Monty to be able to set to the back sides.
Quick word on the two teams that lost in the semifinals, United Stars, Stanmore. Both were coming in as contenders. Obviously, Stanmore recently won the tournament. Riyaaz, in your opinion, were they expected that, okay, semifinal is good for them, or do you think this is a disappointment for them, that they couldn't even make it to the finals, let alone win the tournament?
I'll go with Stanmore first. Stanmore, you can never count them out. They're a very well-disciplined team. Always work on their game. I honestly feel that either they were tired coming into the semis today, and they faced a team like Orlando Union. You have to be at 100% when you're playing against Orlando Union A. And they always have been very competitive against Orlando. They've never made it over the hill, though. They always, in every tournament that I remember that they have played, they have never made it over the hill with Orlando. And that is something in all of those Stanmore Jaffrey's players' heads. I would put it on tiredness or whatever it is, or jet lag or whatever it is. Stanmore, you can't count them out. It was bad luck. They lost. They'll be here again. They'll fight again. So that my issue is with United Stars. When I walked in here on Friday and I watched Turab play, and I said this over and over again, I don't see the fire in his eyes anymore. It's not there. Why? So when your main player has no fire in their eyes, they're not playing at 100%, you need to make a change. And I think that team, it is about time that they either add players or get more youths in, do a rebuild of that team, so this way in 2 or 3 years they can be contenders again. I don't see Turab being a contender with this team in Minnesota or in wherever, wherever the next tournament is. So that's something that I and I mentioned it to him as well. I said, man, there's no fire in you anymore. You need to kind of change things up and come back again stronger.
I kind of agree with you. I think Turab needs help. Turab by himself, he's definitely a good player, but I think he needs help. And I don't think Turab will get to that championship. And I know, we have mentioned this in our preview and recap, and I have spoken to him too, that he has won some championship, but all of them at home. Obviously he wants to win one on the road to accomplish that. But I feel like you said, the team that they have, um, maybe they are missing some pieces. As far as Stenmore is concerned, Ali, every time Stenmore is trying to make a run, they run into Orlando. If they don't run into Orlando, they win championship, just like they did in summer where they didn't meet Orlando. I think they have to figure out Orlando if there is such solution to begin with, because in order for them to win championship, they'll have to figure out Orlando.
Stanmore has never beaten Orlando in a playoff round at all. Okay, they have a fear factor when they play Orlando, and you know what they did? They played half the court. They want to avoid Imran Jivraj. Imran was frozen. I mean, Imran's like I hardly played the semifinals, but that means you're avoiding half the court. You're playing just one side of the court. It's not easy. You can't play volleyball like that. They have to play him. Minnesota kids were not scared of Imran Jivraj. They were going after him. And they're seeing the strategy that Orlando had, but they're not making any changes. Their change came in the second game when they're down by a significant amount, a margin, with very little time left, and that's when they made a change. They have to have a plan B right away, and that should have been implemented in the first game, not even the second game. Another thing I noticed is, and I mentioned this in our when we're commentating the games. Wonder what the ratio of first balls put in net by Amir Ali. I mean, is that his job there, just to put ball in the net? That's what Maroom Shamash used to do. That you can get anyone else to do that. When Amir Ali came out of front center, he went front left. He was more effective, So they need to ponder on these and work on it, because the game is changing. They want to get the third ball, but you don't waste a key player like Amir Ali to put the ball in the net. Look at Hilal. He chooses. He's probably 50-50. He knows the ball that he cannot hit a proper offensive shot. He'll put it in the net. He's not going to take an opportunity, jump up, and put the ball in the net, which is what I saw Amir Ali doing.
Yeah, and there's something very interesting from Abbas Ali, their captain. Before the semifinals, I interviewed him and Ali Asghar Allu, and I asked him about, what are his thoughts. The very first thing he mentioned is, we are underdogs. And yes, rightfully so. I mean, against Orlando Union, you are underdog. But I kind of felt like maybe, like you said, are they fearing Orlando? Are they like they are scared of Orlando? I don't understand what is it about them, because when United Stars comes against Orlando, or Toronto North comes against Orlando, you don't feel like they're fear. Yes, they may not have the team to compete with Orlando, but you don't see fear in Usman Lambada. You don't see fear in Turab. But do you feel like Stanmore is scared of Orlando? They have fear, like in the old days when a superstar player walks in on the court, half the battle is already won. Is that what it is?
So in every generation, there's that one team that succeeds everybody else. Orlando has taken that position right now, where everybody is looking up at them and saying that's who we need to beat. There are teams that are making changes to make that happen, and Stanmore is one of them. And it's like back in the Jeffrey days, Toronto Jeffreys. Everybody was, when you walked into the court against, Toronto Jeffreys, you had already lost because you had that fear factor. I see the same thing in Stanmore's eyes. They need to know and trust in themselves. They need to know that they can believe that they can have a team good enough to beat Orlando. How they will do it, maybe Ali gave some good advice. It's not going to happen from exercising an hour earlier, or it's not going to happen from exercising, a month earlier. It's going to happen with mental games. It's going to happen with them trying to come up with a formula to beat this Orlando team. And fear, yes, it's there, but eventually that fear is going to go away. Just like it went away for Turab when he beat Jaffrey's. Just like it went away from Orlando when they beat Jaffrey's. So it will happen. It's a matter of time. But they need to climb up that ladder. They need to find that formula to beat this team.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think they definitely are the most disciplined team. They are very respectable group of people. You actually enjoy their company. And I agree with you. It's only a matter of time before they take that big step. Before I get into the Orlando Union A, of the 4 teams that lost in the quarterfinals, one of them was ours, Orlando B. I think we had little high expectation for Orlando B to be able to beat Minnesota. But then again, Minnesota made the run all the way to the finals, so you can't even blame Orlando B for losing that. But what did you see in Orlando B today, or what you didn't see in Orlando B today that we saw last 2 days?
I don't think it's Orlando B was the problem. It's just Minnesota was on fire today. I mean, until the finals. I mean, they gave it all out in the finals. I think Orlando B tried. We were expecting them to win. Like I called it yesterday, but unfortunately they didn't. But they tried their best. Oh, thank you, gentlemen.
We're waiting for that steak.
Oh. So we have, for the viewers there, we have a tradition that Riyaaz and Riyaaz started, and then I had to continue a couple of times, that we have a celebration steak dinner for the whole Orlando Union Club when they get a victory. So I'm sure it's going to be coming soon. So going back to Minnesota, I mean, I wouldn't blame it on Orlando Union B. They tried
Yeah, they just ran into a very hot Minnesota B with their different formation. Gentlemen, Orlando Union, okay, they knew they had the pressure of winning this for various different reasons, right? The last 3 tournaments that we hosted, 2012, 2014, 2016, we had that winning streak going on. Obviously, this was the next one, so they wanted to keep that streak alive. In addition to that, Orlando Union had not won a championship in 6 years. That 2016 was the last championship. Granted, 2 years you don't count because there was nothing going on, but still, it was a long time because we had been winning every 2 years or so, and in between we won in Allentown too. So they had that pressure too. On top of them, the crowd, the expectations, everything was built up. In my opinion, not only they lived up to that expectation, they actually exceeded, because I felt their game, especially in the semifinals and finals today, was a notch above everybody else. So what is it that Orlando has done where is it safe to say they have no competition?
So Orlando has achieved, I think this is the 6th championship. And I think all of them have come in Orlando. Except for Allentown. So I think that this team has built a core strong enough. And you only get tested when you're not at home. You go out and you play in Canada, or you play in England, or Dar es Salaam, wherever it is. But these tournaments are tournaments that Orlando Union A needs to attend to see where they stand in the caliber of players throughout the world. You may be the best at home, but you're never tested until you go out. So they're doing an amazing job. They're making the key changes that they need to make, like Salman, Ali Tajani, to sort of keep the caliber of the team strong. But to me, you're a champion when you start winning tournaments outside your home. And I'm not taking away anything from what they have done so far, especially this time. But they need to start thinking about winning more away from home.
Ali, just to continue with Riyaaz's point, should we expect them now that they should win in Minnesota coming in October?
Oh, absolutely. They have to. You know, Orlando Union is not a one-person team. It's a team. It's a system. And this is coming from Turab. I had a good conversation with Turab and Limbada, and they were breaking it down from the netties to picking up putties to the front line being the wall. If you notice, that front line is standing all the way back. Okay, confidently they stand back because they know if that putty drops or someone tries to drop, those two netties are going to get there. And they're not going to get it over. They'll put it in the net and set a third ball. So it becomes an offensive shot for Alias Karalu. Okay? Then you have the back line. It's a wall. Freddie, who was our finals MVP. Hard to get a point off of him. Ali T did his job well, so did Salman. And then you have servicemen. Arif Ali did not spoil one serve in the whole tournament. It's a complete system. You know what Turab told me? He's like, if I come to the next tournament, I don't have my expectation to win. You can't with this team. It's a system. It's a proper, complete package, And that did not just come overnight. It came over the time that we invested on our youths. 10 years ago, these kids were probably not even driving cars, So that's the result of our investment in the kids.
Alias Karalu, obviously, I had made a point in one of the pregame show that this will be a coming out party for Alias Karalu, and it did. He was unbelievable, but we expected him to be that way. Imran Jivraj, that front line, there is nobody to match that front line of Imran, KJ, Hilal, right? I think if I were to say that the four players who actually played in order for these superstars, and they are superstars, the front three and Alias Karalu, these are, unquestionable superstar. But the four players who actually contributed to their superstar were the two netties and Aliti and Freddie, especially in the finals, Salman before that. They really played. They were wall. There is no way, like Lambada was trying to go that line and, Turab went and, Freddie was not giving, Ali T was not giving, Salman was not giving. And then those two netties were not only taking the ball out, the way they were setting up, for Alias Karalu to attack. We have to give credit to those 4-5 players.
So the supporting role for those four players that you mentioned, Kumail, Hilal, Imran, and Ali Asghar, the supporting players, Ali Tejani, I like to call him, as of today, as what? Fireworks Freddy. Fireworks Freddy. He's the man. I'm telling you, after watching them today, I have a new respect for Imran Tejani and Fireworks Freddy. These guys played amazing. The netties, there was a time when the finals was going on, and I told Ali, I said, Ali, look at Mikhail when he's taking out the ball from the net. He's not even looking at Ali Asghar. He's not even looking at him. He knows exactly where Ali Asghar is. And I told him it reminds me of the, Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan days, where they knew exactly where they were. And then with the addition of Hassan, Mikhail is an amazing netty. But the only reason why he's there is because he had somebody to look up to. Yes. And I think that is Hassan. Yes. And Hassan has been like that pivot role for him to kind of excel to where he is today. So if you put that all together, like Ali said, that package is, it's a system. And those supporting role players are so important. And if it wasn't for them, this team wouldn't be, as good as it is.
And the combination of Hassan and Mikhail, which ball, who takes it, the way they have the understanding. I actually interviewed them before one of the game, and they were explaining to me how they understand each other. I mean, it's amazing. And one thing that is scary is that Arif Ali is one of the top players, and he wasn't even part of the position players. He was service, yes, but imagine if once he is physically fully fit, I mean, they have a lot of options.
So speaking of the netties, going back to that conversation I had with Limbada and Turab, Limbada is like, if I have these two netties, he's like, I would be on fire also. He's like, I have to go to my third ball. I have to run on it. These guys are setting it. And they ask the back center, where do you want it? Do you want it high? Do you want it low? Do you want it on the right side? If they want to attack Maysam, so they'll give the ball to the back center in such a way that it goes that way to Maysam. And splitting of the net, it's not that one is dominant over the other. They have like a imaginary line, laser line that, hey, look, this is your half, this is my half. You know, we know what ground to cover, and I don't see any ball drop between them two, not even one. You know, so. Oh yes, yep. So, and they're also told, I don't know, and I told this to Riyaaz, that when they set a dead ball, dead meaning the ball is floating up to Aliaskar Alu, 90% of the time, that's a point for Liaskar because he has more hang time, he has more vision, and Limbada says the same thing. That's almost a guaranteed point.
Gentlemen, I think overall this was an amazing tournament, not only because we won, but the way it was organized, everything, like I said, from volunteering, food, media, everything. I also want to shout out to the organizers of the ladies tournament. Apparently that was very successful. And just like the men's, we saw it's a young team that organized this. The ladies also is a very young team that organized this, as we saw. They had very amazing time as well, and it was a very successful tournament. Any parting thoughts to wrap up this tournament?
Yeah, you know, lots of respect for these younger guys who are running Union Sports Club of Orlando for stepping up to the plate and taking a challenge on and, you know, making a tournament like this and actually making it successful. So a great job to them, to the ladies side as well. Amazing job. And, you know, last but not least, thanks to you, Raza, for making sure that a lot of people throughout the world are aware of what is going on here, and these talks and so on brings more people onto, basically to watch. And you know, everybody loves watching volleyball, especially in our Koja community. So it was amazing. I think the night recaps, the personal interviews before the game, after the game, you know, that was just icing on the cake. That was just amazing. So great job, Raza. Thank you for giving us the time as well to sit with you and discuss all this. So amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'll take one more credit too, since you didn't mention, and I deserve to take that credit. I'm so glad I pushed you guys to get into commentary as well, because you two both were hesitant. But I was listening, by the way. I was listening the commentary both games, and it was amazing commentary. Any final thoughts, Ali?
Thank you, Raza, for giving us that opportunity to do the commentary. I echo what Riyaaz says. He's covered it all. Right now, my thoughts are, I hope there's biryani left over for us. Thank you all.
All I'm going to say is thank you again. It was such a pleasure to do this with the two of you. You two have got an amazing IQ when it comes to volleyball, and you know, you guys made my job easy, so I can't take all the credit. Final thing I want to say is we missed Johnny in this tournament, but I feel like he was with us. In spirit, he was always with us. Everybody that we spoke to, you know, was talking about it. And I also want to give a huge shout out to our crowd, our community. They came out, they supported, and in fact, in addition to that, even Minnesota community, they came quite a bit. Biryani is waiting, and so is the steak.
I just want to add one more thing. The other night when we were doing a memorial for Johnny, I had mentioned a few names and so on. In my mentioning, I had forgotten one of the pillars of Johnny, which was his wife, Shaida Bojani. And I would like to personally apologize to her that I honestly missed it. You know, it wasn't on purpose, but Shaida Bojani has been a pillar for Johnny. She has been a pillar for JJ and the family, and also a pillar for our community as well. So Shaida auntie, if you are listening to this, I apologize for missing you out, but you're always in our hearts because when we see you, we remember Johnny.
Dear viewers, we also want to thank you all. I know our recaps are getting a lot of views. We're getting a lot of comments, a lot of feedbacks that we have received. We want to thank you for putting up with us, listening to us. It was a pleasure bringing this tournament to you all, and hopefully we can do in future. Thank you very much to the media team for helping us relate this. Thank you very much. Thanks, Ali. Thanks, Riyaaz. And hopefully October we win again.